Hello. I've been expecting you. Don't worry. I'm Agent Volpin with the FBI. I'm just here to write down some questions, some statements. Now, are you aware of the Fursona Ordinance of 2020? Oh, I'm sorry, you were mistaken. That is the Furry Bureau of Investigations. Apologies for the confusion. Now, on to the question that I had just asked. Are you aware of the ordinance that requires one to represent oneself using a mammal or otherwise whimsical anthropomorphic character of their choosing, enlisted about 4 years ago? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. A likely story. Mm-hmm. I get that all the time. Cringe is dead, you know. Alright. Do you recognize this mammal? Of course you do. Now, if you are unhappy with this selection that has been given to you by your government ordinance, then you may, of course, rectify it within the next 30 days, but note that if you do not, then this selection will be permanent. Regardless, we expect a full reference sheet by the end of the year. It doesn't need to be anything special. Don't worry about figuring out where to post it or who to contact. We will find it. Thank you for your time. What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and welcome to a new kind of challenge, almost. It's similar to a lot of stuff that I've done before. So I've done, like, the 3 random colors to create a character and just general, like, random character challenges, but I figured that I'd be a little bit more specific this time around and that we would work with kind of a furry persona type character and base the character off of these color palettes. And like per usual, I figured that we would do 3. I'm on Coolers, which I have never used before. You can kind of see there. 2 L's, 2 O's, whatever. But yeah, I figured that we would just draw some colors and draw some furries and try and figure out like what animal that you want to use or something like that with the color palette and just kind of let it inspire me a little bit. So yeah, with this, you can hit space, I believe. You can lock colors and stuff like that. That's pretty nifty. But you can hit space to create a color palette. There we go. Woo! This one's interesting. Okay, licorice, black bean, Tyrian purple, cadets gray, dark spring green. Sorry, it was between 2 colors there. Alright, let me pop these down. Thankfully they have like the hex values here. Alright, first palette done. Let's try another one. And like I said, we'll go for 3 because that's my usual. Woo! This is bright! Amaranth pink, glaucus, glaucus? Fluorescent cyan, hey, that's me! Emeralds, gunmetal. Okay. Alright, one more. Ooh, very green. Avocado, mantis, aquamarine, keppel, and fieldgrow. Okay. Very green. 4. Alright, let's take a moment to look at what all we've got here. So we've got this first arrangement, very like jewel tony, very dark, deep, mysterious almost. Then the second one gives kind of like mermaid vibes, almost with a little bit of darkness at the end just for some balance. Very pastel, very like almost rainbowy, I guess, but more like kind of sea tones. And then this one is very green and very green surrounding, like, again, almost kind of like an oceany vibe, but this one is definitely a bit more foresty. So I'm curious as to what I could do with these 3. I guess I kind of like speculate what I could do a little bit. So like maybe this one, I could see like a bear almost, right? Like a cool looking bear, but I'm unsure. Then this one almost gives like a Lisa Frank vibe. So my brain wants to say either like zebra or like a leopard. And then this one, I'm just not sure totally. Huh. Well, I will play around with these, and I guess we'll discuss it a little bit further in Speed Paint voiceover. I'll see you there. Okay, so the first set of colors that we're dealing with is the almost kind of Christmassy palette. I decided to go with my first impression on this one and try to draw a bear. Now, I did some pretty simple color sketches for each of these first to figure out the basic idea of where I wanted their markings. Something about this kind of process makes it much, much faster for me, probably because I don't spend as much time deliberating on the palette and color placement. I feel like that can take a lot of time for me, especially when it comes to like a fully drawn out piece. Instead, I really just had to take the time to sketch and line them and then maybe play around with the placement a bit for the more large, complicated version. I landed on the lighter brown as sort of a base with patches of the darker brown, which was really almost black, really, at least on my tablet. Working with such dark colors can definitely be a struggle, and these two browns were also weirdly close together on my tablet screen, where they didn't seem to be as much on my top monitor. I'll just have to see how it looks on like my phone when I rewatch this video too, but screen colors are just weird like that. The red and green became kind of like the main accents, with the light blue-gray being the least represented color here. I think that the palette could work in a non-Christmas way, but I really kind of leaned into the more like holiday winter vibe. I named this character Wreath because it looked like she had a wreath around her neck. The blue-gray almost kind of adds a frosted vibe to it too, like she's just slowly freezing over, which is definitely kind of cute for the winter vibe as well. I see Wreath as a very warm-spirited bear who loves some cozy company on a cold night. She also loves a good hike to forage and collect firewood for her hearth. Being anthro, she doesn't really hibernate, and she loves the holidays. Next up, we have the really cool pastel palette, and I think that I also listed this as my first vibe for these colors as well, but I decided to go for a jaguar sort of character, almost like a Lisa Frank kind of vibe. Now, the darkest color is the base though, and the spots and markings are all almost those like neon pastels. The most prominent color here, beside that dark gray, is definitely the lighter blue, I think, and the purple acts as his mouth, eye waterline, and nose colors, as well as a good chunk of the spots. I decided to name this character Spark. Don't totally know why, just kind of felt like it fit. Maybe because he reminds me of fireworks, almost. Spark is definitely the artist type, probably more fond of black light colors. I could also imagine him being like a DJ for a club that's all neon and black light where he fits right in. He can definitely be a lot, but his energy is really infectious and he aims to help everyone have a good time. Finally, we have the green palette. Like, just very green, with a hint of minty blue in there for good measure. I don't think I really got the idea for this palette when I first saw it, but I really kind of went with the first thing I thought about and landed on a cervid sort of character. Initially, I was going to go for just a regular, like, white-tailed deer almost, but I actually changed course partway through to make the character look more elk-like. The greens really gave me like a forest guardian vibe, so I wanted kind of a beefier character since I already had the lankiness and spark. Because I am apparently the least original person on the planet, I named him Leaf, like leaf, but spelled with an EI to be more name-like, I guess. Figuring out how to anthropomorphize hooves is definitely interesting and is, I think, a regular struggle in the anthro community. Eventually, I landed on sort of a three-finger hand with some chunky kind of hoof claws at the end. Leaf is definitely the serious type, set out with the responsibility to protect his village that lays deep in the forest. He doesn't speak much and can be quite standoffish, but he's devoted to a fault and can be very sweet, if actually a little shy under that gruff exterior. He's just a sweetie pie. A big buff sweetie pie. But those are my designs for this week. I had a lot of fun with this concept, but let me know what you think about it in the comments and maybe tell me which one of these is your favorite. Of course, you can always subscribe to catch more fun art challenges like this when they do come up. I post at least once a week. At that though, I'm going to leave this here, and I'll see y'all next time.